Hey guys, Coach Rach here. This podcast is intended to inspire, educate, and support you on your health and fitness journey. I am not a medical doctor and cannot give any professional medical advice. If you are suffering from any kind of medical condition, whether it's mental or physical, please seek help from a qualified health practitioner. Welcome to the Diet Starts Never podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Nigro, aka Coach Rach. This podcast will teach you how to live your healthiest life in and out of the gym and put yourself first again. Oh, and we get long-lasting results here. I've made it my mission to help my clients ditch the diet mentality and heal their relationship with food and themselves. After transforming hundreds of bodies and minds, it's your turn. Are you ready? Welcome back to another episode of Diet Starts Never. This is a very special episode because I am bringing my very first guest on the show. Her name is Jamie Pelton, and she has been my best friend literally since the first day of kindergarten. I'm going to introduce her in just a second, but I wanted to make sure I outline the episode for you guys so you know exactly what you're getting into in here. This is a really important episode for us as women. If you're a man, see you later. I'm just kidding. You can totally hang around and listen, but there's so many factors that come with having a uterus. And Jamie and I, our goal for this episode was really to just make sure that you are fully educated on what is going on inside your body and give you all the tools that you need to not only succeed on your weight loss journey, but to succeed as a woman. It can be very difficult knowing if what's going on in your body is right, if it's wrong, what you should be doing for it. So on today's episode, we're going to talk all things menstrual cycle and female reproductive health. There is a huge trend on cycle syncing right now. So Jamie and I are going to educate you guys on every single phase of your menstrual cycle, what you can be doing to support yourself in that phase, and kind of give you our professional opinions if we think cycle syncing is really worth it or not. In addition, we're going to give you nutritional considerations, fitness considerations that go hand in hand. We're even going to talk about birth control and all the different hormones that role in menstruation, birth control. We're even going to touch lightly on PCOS and end the show with a very eye-opening message for you guys. I'm really encouraging you guys to give this episode a chance because this is so much bigger than weight loss. It is your health. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and I hope you enjoy the. Hi, Jim.
Hi. Well, thanks for having me on your podcast. I'm very excited.
Literally nobody else I would want.
I primarily work as a clinical exercise physiologist. I have my master's in clinical exercise physiology. Right now I'm working in cardiac rehab, so I work mainly with cardiac patients. But I did my master's thesis on hormonal contraceptive use, and I measured a few cardiac markers, but kind of looking at birth control, all kinds of different things, your cycle, pretty much everything cycle related, hormonal related. So I definitely have a huge interest in that, even though that's not really what I'm doing for work right now. But I would say I just have an overall, just general clinical background, knowledge.
Yep.
And that's definitely where my interest lies.
And that's exactly why I wanted to have you on for this topic, because there's just so much science behind it. Jamie is also a power lifter as well, and she actually was an assistant coach for me at some point. So she has the full exercise, science, physiology, full circle here. She has like a really cool husband who's now a doctor.
American doctor.
Oh my God, that's so weird. There is a really big trend right now on cycle syncing. If you haven't heard of the term, cycle syncing is literally just aligning your lifestyle with your period, with the different phases of your menstrual cycle. It involves like modifying what you eat, how you exercise, what beauty products you use according to the hormonal phase. I think it takes a lot of work. I think some of it is very overwhelming, especially for somebody who doesn't even know what phases of their cycle are. But supposedly there's a lot of benefits like increased energy, feeling more balanced, more effective workouts, fertility support. So Jamie and I are going to teach you guys kind of everything about it and tell you if cycle syncing is truly worth it. To understand cycle syncing, you need to understand the menstrual cycle. The menstrual cycle has 4 different phases. Each phase affects the body in a very different way. According to cycle syncing, you should be eating, training differently in each phase of your cycle, which me right off the bat, that sounds like a lot of work. And thinking of it as like a health and fitness coach, or even from a nutrition aspect, for somebody who's just trying to figure out this whole health and fitness thing, taking it to another level like this of trying to eat something different basically every week, because our cycle changes almost every week, is a lot.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think that, and I'm sure, we'll touch on this as we kind of get through the episode too, but like at the end of the day, I think cycle syncing is just, one of these like new buzzword type things that are meant to catch people's attention. But there's really no, I don't want to say there's no such thing, but what it comes down to at the end of the day is just knowing your body and knowing how your body reacts, how you feel. Some people feel different throughout their cycle, and some people really don't. And I think that's really the ultimate takeaway, is just knowing your body. Just because you read somewhere that you should be eating something different or training a different way or whatever they're telling you to do, it doesn't mean that you yourself have to do it. But it also could help if you do think that this could be beneficial for you. So it's kind of like just knowing right off the bat that none of this is like a blanket statement that everybody should be doing this. It's really just another way to be in tune with your body.
Yeah, very well said. And that's kind of what I try to explain to everybody on every episode. Like, something that works for me might not work for you, but you can take what works for me and kind of piggyback off of it and tweak it a little bit. And just exactly what Jamie said, at the end of the day, you really just need to know your body. And honestly, I was like looking up, like even on TikTok, on Instagram, just Googling what is cycle syncing, and everything said something differently. Like, nothing is backed up by science. Basically, everything that we're about to explain to you guys is backed up by research. We're not giving you any BS thing that we found on TikTok. So what the goal for this portion, I guess we'll say, is explaining each phase of your cycle and kind of giving you what the nutrition and training considerations should be. Cool. Let's start with the follicular phase, which is basically, it's known as the fun phase. This is like the first day of your cycle right after your period ends. And it ends when you ovulate. So naturally you're going to feel stronger, you're going to feel faster, you're going to feel more energized in this phase because of the increase in estrogen. And don't worry, we're going to explain to you guys all about hormones too after this. Basically, the nutrition considerations, it's an optimal time to aim for higher carbs, more fiber, fermented foods due to the increase in energy. Like I said earlier, I don't think, your follicular phase could last anywhere from like 10 to 18 days, depending on the person. I don't think for half your month, if you just start eating like higher carbs and then lower carbs, it's just going to kind of keep you in that roller coaster cycle. If your goal overall is weight loss, if you're doing it for just like a well-being standpoint, yes, maybe that might make you feel good. Translating it into fat loss, I don't think that's going to get you the results that you want. As for training, it says go for those PRs, push intensity, volume.
Like you said, in this phase, you tend to feel a little bit better. You tend to feel energized. You tend to feel, less of those menstrual cycle symptoms or PMS symptoms. So naturally, you're going to be able to work a little harder in the gym. So if you are going for those PRs, maybe now is the time to do it. And it all kind of goes back to what your goals are too. If you're just really if you're going to the gym every day and you're just trying to be healthy, does it really matter? No, maybe not that much. If you have specific goals and you have specific PRs that you want to hit, then yeah, you might want to take this into consideration. And again, we're just saying this based off of different phases of the cycle and what has been seen in the literature. It doesn't mean it applies to everybody. It doesn't mean that this one group of people experienced, feeling good in this phase, but there's something wrong with you if you don't. That's not at all the case.
Right.
So yeah, if you are noticing that you're getting that increase in energy, then yeah, you're going to be doing better in the gym. You're going to be hitting your PRs. You're going to be able to push it a little bit more. And then if you kind of break that down, it only makes sense to then, if now is when you want to increase those carbs a little bit, yeah, your energy expenditure is higher. So you kind of have a little bit more wiggle room to increase those carbs a little and support the intensity of your training. So I think if you break it down into those two like subsections, it makes sense just on a fundamental level.
Yeah. Now give us an example. Like when we say PRs, I don't think a lot of people know what that means. It means personal records, guys. What are examples of lifts with that you should be going for personal records?
Yeah, I would say mainly like those compound lifts, so your squats, your bench press, your deadlifts. Um, Really, it could apply to any exercise. If there's any exercise that you're working on and you're really wanting to get a certain number, then it applies to everything. But typically, when you hear PR, it's probably one of those compound lifts, more, not necessarily a bicep curl. Um,
I mean, hey, if you want to curl it, go for it.
And if something you're doing is training for endurance, it doesn't even have to apply to lifting only. It can be if you're training for a marathon, if you're training for a half marathon, if you're doing a 10K, whatever, like maybe when you're feeling good at this part of your cycle, that's when you go for your really long run or something like that. Like it doesn't have to only apply to lifting.
Yeah. But again, like there's no pressure to do it just because you think you have to do it at this phase. You could do it 2 weeks later when we explain to you the luteal phase, which I doubt you're going to want to, but you get the point. Okay, well said. Thank you. So next, let's move on to ovulation. And I actually want to make a quick note. I know some of you might be thinking, like, are we, like, I understand these phases. I know what the 4 different phases of the cycle are. But I literally said to one of my clients last night, well, right now, last week, right now you're in your luteal phase, so you're going to be experiencing X, Y, and Z. And she said, I don't even know what that is. So there are some women who really are just not sure. So we just want to make you guys as educated as possible about your uterus. Okay, ovulation. So this one is about 10 to 18 days into your cycle, and it's when an egg is released from the ovary to be fertilized. This is when, if we want to have babies, we have the baby making time, or if we don't, we're extra careful. It's not what this show is about. Okay.
Baby making time.
I'm like, I can say fuck, but I can't say sex. I don't know. I make the rules. So anyway, we have a natural increase in estrogen as well as a risk of injuries. This was actually something that I learned more while doing the research for this. So there is a decrease in tendon elasticity. You'll feel strong, you'll feel energized, but more susceptible. I can never say that word. Susceptible to injury, which again, like I've never personally experienced like things like this. I guess this is just what these specific researchers have found. But anyway, there are actual studies that show that women are 3 times as likely to experience an ACL tear during an ovulation phase, which blew my mind. So, of course, here you'll experience bloat, water retention, cramps. As far as nutrition goes, suggested to aim for higher fiber foods to support in liver detoxification and lowering inflammation. When it comes to training, we say don't try anything risky while in a workout, as in a massive PR, and pay closer attention to form. Okay, that was a lot to digest. What do you think, James, about the susceptible to injury?
Yeah, I mean, that's also something to like take with a grain of salt. And it is like literature does show that there is more just joint laxity and because of that increased estrogen. So, yes, you technically are more susceptible to injury. Are you going to injure yourself if you're just your average gym goer that's just going to the gym for an hour, doing a circuit style training? Probably not. And I think it's just maybe can serve as more of a reminder than anything that like form is important. And
Yeah.
it should be important no matter what. It doesn't matter. That doesn't have to do with the menstrual phase at all. Like you should always be focusing on form, but this can serve as like a little reminder during this phase that like, yeah, maybe I am at a slightly increased risk of injury. Let me really take a second and think about my form and think about how I'm moving my body and making sure that I'm doing it properly.
Yeah, exactly. Well said. All right, let's move on to luteal phase. I think this is the one that we're going to most feel related to. This is kind of when life just seems hard. So this is the phase. This phase begins after ovulation and ends when you start your period. So this is literally like your PMSing phase. And I always thought like growing up, like PMSing was just while you had your period, but it's not. It's like half the month.
Right.
And like
and it really is premenstrual syndrome. So
Yeah,
it's really not
exactly.
even your period.
No, it's not. I mean, you do get some of those symptoms. They trickle over into like the menstruation phase, but like not really. But like 2 days into your period, these symptoms should be on their way out. But we'll get into that in a second. So anyway, you will experience an increase in
Progesterone.
progesterone.
Yeah.
So let's start over. You'll experience an increase in progesterone, water retention, metabolism will increase, meaning you'll feel hungrier. You're going to have an increase in cravings, mood changes. I don't know about you guys. Since I've come off of birth control, it's almost 2 years now. Every single month, my PMS symptoms get worse and worse. Like, I feel so much more moody. Like, I've never been this moody. Like, I could just like cry in a second, and it just like the more time being off of birth control and getting that natural cycle back. But I experienced it hard, and I always used to be like, I like not relate to women who got these symptoms. I'm like, that can't be possible. Like, no, it's real. Like everything. So anyway, there's also a decrease in serotonin and strength. That's why you'll feel even weaker on your period. That's why you might feel like everything sucks, because your body is literally trying to tell you that it does. Symptoms, of course, are low energy, constipation, poor recovery, lack of motivation, bloat, and increase in scale weight. I have literally seen the scale go up 8 pounds for a client on her period.
That's just wild.
It's wild. And like, I had to like talk her off the ledge, of course. I'm like, it's physically impossible to gain 8 pounds in a day. But it happened, and then right after it went right back down. So anyway, as for nutritional considerations, recommended higher healthy fat foods, I should say, higher fiber to help with the constipation, foods that help increase serotonin, such as dark leafy greens, quinoa. That's not going to increase my serotonin. I don't know. But
It does nothing for my serotonin.
maybe if I ate like, I don't know, for a week, I don't know. But a magnesium rich a magnesium rich diet to combat that fatigue and low libido, which involves some dark chocolate, that will increase my serotonin.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Agree.
As for like the nutrition considerations I just said, a lot of us crave like sugary, not so clean, healthy foods around this time because of that fluctuation in our mood, because of those fluctuations in our hormone. And this is often a time where we choose to just self-sabotage on a term of fat loss. And we're like, well, I have my period, so I can do what I want. Like, it doesn't count, I'm on my period, or I have my period, I can't control my cravings. But if you have a fat loss goal, I need you guys to think of this as like a week by week standpoint. Like, if you're in your luteal phase for an entire week, that's 1/4 of your month. That's an entire week you are putting your goals on hold, rather, I guess I would say, or you're not progressing. So it's important to really assess where you want to be in terms of your goals, how serious you want to take it, how quickly you want to get there. Do you want to be a little bit stricter and reach your goals a little bit quicker, or do you want to be more flexible and eat the chocolate, all of the chocolate on your period? I'm not saying don't eat the chocolate when you're being a little bit stricter. Eat that chocolate always, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. And I think the point about your goals is also very important, because at a certain point you need to ask yourself, what are my goals and how quickly do I want to reach them?
Yep.
If you have set goals that you have a timeline for, which there's nothing wrong with, sometimes you just have to do things that are not fun.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to go to the gym even if you don't feel well, or sometimes you just have to eat that, perfectly balanced meal even if that's not what you want. And that's just, on an individual basis. That's kind of just what you have to decide for yourself.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what phase you're in, how you feel, whatever. Sometimes you just have to do it anyway.
Yeah. You have to just do it anyway. And it doesn't need to be bad. I think it also comes with such a mindset that like people think like, ugh, I have to, the former term that I really try not to use is diet. But really, like, you don't have to diet. You have to eat in a calorie deficit. There's a very big difference. Diet is just what you do on a day-to-day basis. And if you have this mindset of eating in a calorie deficit or losing fat has to be so miserable, then it's going to continue to be miserable and you're not going to get anywhere. And then when a week comes where your hormones are completely all over the place, like your luteal phase we're talking about, you're going to take that opportunity to overindulge and just go all in on food that you've just been restricting yourself from the past 3 weeks. So if there's anything you can learn from cycle syncing, I guess we would say, is practicing more of that balance. So now as for training, this phase suggests lower weights as needed, emphasis on as needed if you feel like you need to. Focus on a mind muscle connection, maybe skip cardio this week, take a rest, take an extra rest day, swap out training for something more gentle like yoga.
Yeah, this would be a perfect week for like, I know this term isn't really used a whole lot in
Teach
just
us.
general training, but like I'm a powerlifter, so I have scheduled deload weeks where my volume is cut in half. The amount of weight used is cut in half, and it's programmed into my program. It might be every 5 weeks, it might be every 6 weeks, it might be every 8 weeks. It kind of depends on how I'm feeling. But if you know that this is how you feel during your cycle, then maybe those weeks, not to say that you should have a deload every 3 weeks, but
Right.
that maybe it's, you should schedule your deload or have whoever was coaching you, whatever, schedule your deload for that luteal phase when you're not feeling great. That way you go into the week knowing that your volume is cut, your weights are cut, you're not going to have to push crazy hard. And then it's also less of like that mental portion of it where this is already scheduled. I'm already scheduled to go lighter this week.
Right.
You don't beat yourself up for not being able to do, the big numbers or the big runs or whatever it may be.
Yeah, it just takes the stress out of that because at the end of the day, it's just you should feel good no matter what you're doing. I'm in this phase right now, luteal phase, and we were at the gym yesterday, Vinny and we were training together back and I don't even know, back and buys. I like felt like so weak going into the workout, like no energy. I felt so hungry, and then I start lifting, not expecting to feel any form of strength. And I felt so strong during my lifts. In between the sets, I felt like shit. While I was lifting, I was like getting like 15 reps on like a trap bar deadlift with like very moderate weight. I was completely blew my mind. But I like totally didn't go into that workout thinking I was going to be able to move any weight. So it's really just your intuition, seeing how you feel. And if you set in your head like, oh, I'm supposed to feel like shit this week, you're going to feel like shit this week. You don't need to take a week off at all. If you feel up for it, go do it. If you don't, then don't. No biggie. Have you ever experienced that, James, that decrease in strength?
I don't think so. I think I am just in general like one of the, I don't know if I want to say luckier people, but like just in general, like I've never had severe symptoms around my period. Like, yes, maybe a little bit more tired. Yes, maybe a little bit more moody or emotional. But I don't think that I've noticed a decrease in strength. And I think just the nature of my particular sport, I can't alter my training. Like if I'm prepping for a competition, like I cannot alter my training
Yeah.
based off of my cycle. So I kind of just have that mindset of like, I need to do it. There's been a handful of days, I would say I've been powerlifting for, oh man, like 6 years, 6+ years. And I would say I've probably had like 3 or 4 training sessions where I just cried and said, forget it, I'm not doing it. So it definitely does
It's like
happen.
not bad, like one a year. It's
Yeah,
impressive
right. Like,
statistics.
right, exactly. But I think it's also just the type of training that I do. It's not even part of my mindset to be able to skip or to be able to do it. And that just circles back to like, again, what are your goals? My goals, not right now, but in the past have been competition, which my competitions are how much weight can you lift? So maybe I'm not feeling great that day, but then I think to myself, oh, if I skip this training day, that could mean the difference between, whatever when I
Yeah.
get to competition. So, I mean, I would say maybe. I can't like definitively say I've noticed a decrease
Okay.
in strength,
Doesn't
but
really
maybe.
seem like it. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe. But it's just so crazy. I never thought that like it would make such a difference, and that's why it is so individual.
Mhm.
Like just to give you guys a little bit more background, like Jamie nor I are either of us are on birth control, right? Each of us have such different experiences, and my experiences have changed drastically since being on birth control. And I can literally say like I recognize all of these symptoms so much, so it's totally individual to you.
Mhm.
Okay, last but not least, menstruation. So this is obviously when your period starts, and then the body goes back to the follicular phase after. The first few days you may not feel 100%, like I was saying, but you will start to benefit the follicular phase again around days 2 to 3. A healthy period can be anywhere from 3 to 7 days, and a healthy cycle is within plus or minus 4 days each month. So, for example, like I think like the average cycle, let's just say, is like 30 days. You're considered to have a healthy cycle if it's within 26 to 34 days, something like that, if that made any sense. So nutrition and training considerations are totally the same as the follicular phase. That brings me back to what I said before. Like a lot of women think or act on their period or take their period as an opportunity to not choose the cleanest options because it's an excuse that I'm on my period. And I hate to say it's an excuse, but I kind of think it is. And, the research says that you should be starting to experience better feelings and you shouldn't have these same kind of cravings. But I think we've just been told like we're on our periods, eat the ice cream. It's just like kind of drilled into our brain
Right.
when it's not really our intuition anymore.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Let's connect this to weight loss. So I want to talk about energy levels, scale fluctuations, the serotonin, all of that. How does knowing what phase of your cycle affect your weight loss journey? What do you think, Jim?
Um, I think kind of like what we mentioned before, your cycle itself is not going to affect weight loss, or weight gain. There's really no research behind saying that your cycle affects, and I shouldn't say weight, but fat loss
Yeah.
or fat gain. Because the scale can go up and down for a million different reasons, kind of like what Rach you mentioned before about you have a client that, would gain 8 pounds overnight during her
Crazy.
cycle. That's not, like you said, like that's not fat. You're not gaining 8 pounds of fat overnight from your cycle. It's probably water, it's bloat, it's whatever's going on hormonally inside your body. It's not fat. So knowing what phase of your cycle, I don't particularly think really matters in terms of fat loss or fat gain. But again, knowing how you're feeling, how you as an individual are feeling at different points of your cycle, so that you can alter your training or alter your nutrition or whatever it may be to just better serve your goals, that's going to affect your progress.
Right. If my client tells me no, I'll ask them on their check-in, are you on your period? If not, when are you getting it? If they tell me they're getting it next week, I say to them, okay, we're not going to weigh in for the next week because the scale has such control over us. Unfortunately, you get on that scale and you see an increase, and that could just throw off your entire progress because of that mental spiral you're about to go down. So do yourselves a favor and just don't weigh in on your period. I say don't weigh in ever unless like you just need like a baseline. I really am like starting to become more and more of a firm believer that like the scale just doesn't mean anything. It just doesn't, to calculate your calories. Yeah, that number does matter, but like just like do things that make you feel good and the scale will change. The weight will go down. Let's talk about how exercise affects periods, because it is true that the more you exercise, the more athletic you are, the less heaviness, the less flow you'll experience, maybe the less symptoms. So, Jamie, you were making a good point the other day about athletic populations with a low body fat percent. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so like you just said, it is supported by research. It is seen that more athletic populations do experience much milder symptoms when it comes to and again, not a blanket statement, everyone's different, but a lot of the times you do experience a much milder period, much milder symptoms. Your flow won't be as heavy. It's probably not going to last as long. You know, maybe it'll last a couple days versus a whole week. Um, and it is also seen that if you are super lean, sometimes you can lose your period entirely, which is, I don't know if anyone's ever heard of the like female athlete triad, but it's something that we talk about in science all the time. It's these really athletic populations, really, really lean, and it's this essentially it's this triangle, and it comes with menstrual dysfunction or amenorrhea, so a complete loss of a period, low energy availability, sometimes with an eating disorder, sometimes with not, and a decreased bone mineral density. And this is huge in scientific research with athletic populations because it is seen in a lot of women, which kind of just furthers the point, which I know, Rach, you always say this, that being lean, super, super lean all the time is not healthy for your body.
Nope. Definitely not. Like my entire life growing up, or my entire menstruating life. Okay.
You became a woman.
When I became a woman, I actually didn't feel like I became a woman until I bought my boobs. So, so the first time I became a woman, not the second time. I have always had a very light period. As I got older and became more athletic, you know, Jamie and I both grew up competitively horseback riding. Were we the leanest? Not when we started, no. But like we trained a lot. Like I had a very light period growing up. Then when I went on to birth control, it was non-existent for years. And now that it's back, like compared to like, I guess you would say a normal period, it's still very light. I'm lean, but I'm not like crazy athletic, low body fat percentage lean. Couldn't handle that. I like pasta too much. But anyway, so let's bring this back to cycle syncing. Like cycle syncing, I think it's very individualized. Like if you feel like you can reap benefits from it, absolutely, heck yeah. Tracking your cycle to ensure overall health, very, very big difference. I think every single woman, even on birth control, should be tracking their cycle. We're about to get into birth control more, but if you're not getting your periods, that's not normal. If you're not on birth control, if you're on a natural cycle, you should still be experiencing some of that. So either way, you need to be going to a doctor if you're not getting your period. And if you are having low body fat percent, that could be a reason why. If you have another hormonal imbalance, that could be a reason why. We're not your OBs. We can't tell you the exact reason why, but hopefully this can help educate you and maybe you can have that conversation with your doctor now.
Yes, agree. I think it also is normalized for whatever reason to not get a period, and people
Right.
kind of are like, yay, I don't get my period, which, like, I get it, they suck, but it is a normal physiological process.
Yeah.
And it's healthy. It's part of having overall health. And if you're not, like Rachel said, if you're not getting a period and this is, you know, I'm talking about the average healthy individual. If you have some other condition, if you have an endocrine disorder, if you have something else going on, obviously this doesn't apply to you. But if you're an average healthy person not getting your period, that's not normal. And you shouldn't let anybody tell you it's normal. You should find out why you're not getting a period.
Yeah, exactly. You guys are going to call me crazy. I love getting my period. I'm not going to go into the details too much of why, but I love it. It makes me feel like I'm like resetting for the month. You know, it's only a couple days. I'm going to cut that out. TMI. Okay. Anyway, let's kind of transition a little bit into birth control because I know a lot of women are on birth control, and I want you guys to understand the hormones that are running through your body. So there have been a lot of women who have come off of birth control recently because of the negative side effects it has to do with that specific individual person. We kind of taught you guys all about what a natural cycle is, and being on a hormonal birth control takes out a big part of that natural cycle, which is the ovulation aspect. What hormones are involved with menstruation?
estrogen and progestin, baby.
Yeah, cool. So,
Which are naturally, estrogen and progesterone are naturally occurring in the body, but
mhm,
the and hormones can have all different types, all different forms. There can be a million different forms of everything,
yeah.
whatever. Birth control are synthetic forms of these hormones.
Let's tie it in. So, how these two hormones play a role in birth control. I think this stuff is so interesting. I'm sorry if you guys don't, but it's important to know. So, we know there are so many different forms of birth control, and each of them work a little different in the body to prevent pregnancy. That is like the overall goal with birth control if you're taking it for another reason. But when birth control goes into your body, its job is to stop you from getting pregnant. So, for example, a combination pill that contains estrogen and progesterone tricks the pituitary gland into thinking the female is pregnant and prevents the body from secreting hormones for ovulation. So, in return, ovulation does not occur. Versus an implant in the arm, which contains progestin, which is the synthetic form of progesterone. It prevents ovulation by literally thickening the cervical mucus and thinning the uterine lining. And then this, I just didn't even know at all. There's non hormonal IUDs, I guess we would say, implants, that a copper IUD, which is complete non-hormonal birth control, works because the copper is toxic to sperm and eggs. That's just like crazy to me, no?
Yeah.
Is that
I'm actually curious because I didn't really look into copper IUDs or like non-hormonal form of IUDs when I was doing my thesis. Just because it obviously didn't apply because I was specifically looking at female hormones. But I'm just like genuinely curious how many people are on non-hormonal. I feel like I never
right?
hear about it, and I'm not saying it's a good thing, bad thing, totally neutral. I'm just like curious.
Yeah, we will. We'll look that up and let you guys know. Okay, so why is menstruation lighter while on birth control? A lot of women do go on birth control to get that lighter period. The main reason is because progesterone and estrogen do not rise or fall the same way they do without birth control, and this prevents the uterine line to thicken, therefore it doesn't shed as much. The question is, can you cycle sync while on a hormonal birth control? No.
No.
No. I mean, you have your pack of pills that you take every single day. If you're on a pill, that is your tracking your cycle. Yeah. Should you track it in a little bit more detail? Yeah, you can track like how many days your period are. If you're not getting it some months versus getting it each month, it's definitely something I would bring up to my doctor. But you cannot reap the same benefits if you're looking for benefits from cycle syncing if you're on a hormonal birth control. Does being on birth control for a long time affect your body?
This one's a tough one to answer for sure. And I should have prefaced this whole episode with the favorite term in science is it depends. Which drives people crazy.
Uh-huh.
It's true because it depends.
Okay.
Does being on birth control for a long time affect your body? And I'm assuming you mean negatively.
Yeah.
I'm going to say no. There's nothing. Birth control is a very well studied, safe way to do what it's supposed to do, aka prevent you from getting pregnant or managing symptoms from other endocrine disorders, PCOS, whatever it may be. With that being said, everybody is different. Maybe your body doesn't respond to birth control well. Maybe your body doesn't respond to those synthetic forms of hormones well. And that's going to be very individualized. And if you are that person that just doesn't respond well to those things, then yeah, maybe it will have a detriment. Maybe it will be negative for your body to be on it for super long. But that's definitely way outside of the scope of anybody being able to tell you other than your doctor.
Yeah.
No hormone coach, no fitness coach, no nutritionist, I wouldn't even say a dietitian, nothing. And I, respect all professions, but I think when it comes to this stuff and when it comes to hormones, you definitely need to know when you're outside of your scope. And this is outside of the scope of anybody but an OBGYN.
Agreed. Okay, now let's end this birth control chat about how it plays a role in weight loss. A lot of women swear that their birth control is the reason they can't lose weight. And I'm not saying it's not, again, all individual, it depends. But there's no clear link between hormonal birth control and weight loss or even weight gain.
It circles back to kind of what I touched on previously. Adipose tissue, adipose is fat. Adipose cells are your fat cells in your body. There's no adipose tissue being gained because of your birth control. There's zero link between that. Are there other things that are happening while taking birth control, while having a period, while not having a period, with your hormones fluctuations? Are you eating differently? Maybe. That could be contributing to weight gain, but it's not a one-to-one, I'm taking birth control and this is why I'm gaining fat.
Right.
There's no link there unless you have some kind of underlying condition.
I've worked with a lot of women actually who have PCOS, and the biggest issue they have is they think they can't lose weight. They think it's a death sentence. Like, I have PCOS, I can't lose weight. For those of you who don't know, PCOS is polycystic ovary syndrome. Women who do have PCOS may benefit from being on a birth control pill because it helps minimize symptoms and the condition and support equilibrium, basically just keeping their body happy. Just a complete side note from this, a lot of women with PCOS don't know which type they have. When I asked that question, they're like, I didn't even know there are different kinds of types. And like I said, they think they'll never be able to lose weight. But depending on what type of PCOS they have, there are effective weight loss plans that they can be given. For example, someone with insulin resistance PCOS, which is, the most common, can benefit from proper meal timing with snacks in between, pairing carbs with protein, portion control, managing their blood sugar, helps manage their hormones, which can aid in their weight loss. It's not doing that isn't going to get them to lose weight. Doing that is going to make their body feel good, which can help them with their weight loss goal.
Right. Right. And when, like you said, when it comes to the whole, and PCOS could be a whole nother conversation.
Yeah. That's why.
And again, mostly outside of scope of practice for anyone other than an endocrinologist. But like you said, most PCOS cases we see is that insulin resistance. And yes, that insulin resistance can 100% affect fat weight, fat gain, fat loss. 100%. And that's a whole different process physiologically that's happening in your body. It's not, it's not just one thing. It's, there's something going on physiologically that is affecting you and affecting your fat loss or gain.
Yeah, exactly.
But just to, put this out there again, if you are somebody with PCOS, like Rach said, it is not a death sentence. It is not like I have this, so I can't do this. It's just something you have, and you need to be your own advocate. You need to talk to your doctor. You need to create a plan with your doctor. You need to tell them about your goals. How can I reach my goals while also having this condition? Yeah. It's not a diagnosis and then leave it be, unless that's what you want. And if that's what you want, that's what you want. But if you have goals, it's not a complete I have this, so everything else goes out the window because I can't possibly do anything.
Yeah. I think it's like an answer to your struggles. If you've been struggling to lose weight, all of your woman life, then finding out that you have PCOS is literally the reason why. Basically, the biggest takeaway we want to give you guys with this episode is to be in tune with your body, is to understand how your body works, know what feels really good for you, know what's right for you, know what's wrong for you. And I think understanding your cycle and understanding how you feel throughout the month does play a really big role in that. Tying it back into cycle syncing, do I think it's bullshit? No. It depends. No, I don't. I absolutely don't think it's bullshit because I have actually reaped benefits from it. But again, it just depends how you feel. If you're having a more hormonal, moodier, luteal phase, then yeah, I think you would reap benefits from just taking low impact exercise that week. It really just depends on how you feel. You guys now have all the information you need to kind of understand. And
the biggest takeaway is tracking your cycle is just good practice. Every woman should be tracking their cycle. You should be knowing what point of your cycle you're in. You should be knowing if your cycle is regular, irregular. You should be tracking symptoms. That's just part of being a woman and being a healthy, aiming for overall health.
yeah,
Do you need to cycle sync? No, you don't need to. It's not going to create some crazy benefit, but it could help if you are one of those people that does experience a lot of symptoms surrounding their cycle.
I agree. Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to tie this all into like total reproductive health awareness. Like we should know if there's something not right with our body. And that's another reason why I wanted to have Jamie on the show, because she went through something serious that had to do with reproductive health awareness. I don't even know how to explain it right, but you just need to be your biggest advocate. So Jamie, can you tell us what that was?
Yeah. So back in 2021, like summer of 2021, I was just doing like a normal self breast exam, which everybody should be doing first of the month, every single month. Don't skip a month.
Right.
And I found a lump. And obviously that's not really what you expect to find. I was 26 years old, and as soon as I felt it, I was like, that does not feel normal. And I called my gynecologist. I think I found it on like a Thursday night. Called my gynecologist the next morning, as soon as they opened, literally dialing the number at 8:00 a.m. Got in to see her that day. She felt it. And again, people, especially when you're 26 years old and you feel a lump in your breast, you get dismissed. People get dismissed all the time. I was lucky enough that my gynecologist took it seriously. She herself wasn't really concerned. There could be a million reasons why you have a lump in your breast. It doesn't always have to be cancer. But she took it seriously, and she was like, you know what? I'm just going to send you for an ultrasound. Let's rule breast cancer out. She was not convinced that it was anything serious, but she was like, let's just get the ultrasound, make sure, whatever. And that ultrasound probably saved my life, because it was indeed breast cancer. It was an early stage breast cancer, thanks to the fact that I did those breast exams and thanks to the fact that I had a doctor that took me seriously. But it's just another one of those things that it's part of this overall arch of health and leading a healthy lifestyle. You need to be aware of your body. You need to be aware of what's going on with your body. And you need to advocate for yourself when you feel like something is abnormal.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Being Jamie's best friend, it was absolutely terrifying when she told us that. She actually texted us that because she couldn't even call to say, which, like, honestly, it would have been like just a hysterical cry fest.
Yeah, she would have. I think that's exactly what I said. I would call, but I wouldn't make it through the phone call.
Yes. So she texted, kept us apart through with the whole journey, and she took it like a freaking champ. Like, if there's anybody for this to have happened to, like, Jamie was definitely the most prepared in the aspect of understanding science and her body so much. And thankfully now, what happened?
Cancer free,
bitch. But she definitely went through it, and she was so strong, and she's totally my hero for it. We just want you guys to understand. We just want you guys to be healthy and to know what's going on in your body. And that's the biggest thing. At the end of the day, who gives a fuck if you're skinny?
Yeah.
No, that doesn't matter.
There are more important things, and I'm not saying that your aesthetic goals are not important, because they are.
Absolutely.
Health goals are important, but being the overall picture of health is going to be more important.
Yeah. Cool. So everybody now take advice from James. Set your calendar on the first of the month to check your boobies. And if you missed
it this month, start now. Don't wait till the first.
Jim, can you text us on the first of each month? I'm literally doing a booby scan on it right now. I'm pretty sure.
This is not like oh, I'll start next Monday. It's oh, if I didn't do it on the 1st, I'm doing it on the 4th. May the 4th be with you. Check your boobs.
Yeah, I'm literally checking them right now. I think I said to Jamie at one point, like, can you just come do it for me? Like, I'm scared. I'm
And
not even kidding.
if you don't know how to do a self breast exam, not that this is going to turn into a whole self breast exam podcast episode, if you don't know how, just Google it.
Yeah.
There's a million, there's infographics, there's videos. It's very easy. I think doing it like in the shower is the best, just personally, because like you can kind of feel a little bit more things when your skin is a little bit slipperier. But yeah, I mean it's easy. It takes 2 minutes, and
Yeah.
you'll be better off for it.
And my implant girls, make sure you search with implants because I actually had no idea. I don't even know where to start
Yes.
with that. Yeah,
Yes.
big difference. Okay, cool. I think we covered a lot. To wrap all of this up, check your boobs, track your cycle.
Listen to your body.
Yeah, listen to your body.
Ignore the buzzwords. Ignore what, your favorite influencer tells you have to do. Just be in tune with your body.
All right, cool. Thanks, Jamie. Love you. And Jamie herself has her own podcast. She has an Instagram. So tell our listeners where they can find you.
Yeah, so my personal Instagram, which is just a public page, you can follow me, whatever, is just @_ Jamie Pelton on Instagram. And then my husband, my doctor husband, my husband and I have a podcast. It's @XFizcast, and you can find it on Spotify, Apple. It's pretty much anywhere that you can listen to a podcast.
Yeah.
It'll be there. Admittedly, we have not put a new episode out in a pretty long time, since he's been finishing up his PhD. I've been working full time. But we will start putting out more regular episodes. There are a lot already there.
Yeah,
And
go binge it.
if you are interested in a lot of the science behind things, it's a very science heavy podcast.
Yeah, they're the science. Dr. and Mrs. Science.
Slightly science nerds. And we do have reproductive health episodes. So like if you are looking to get more into the science behind it, definitely go give them a listen.
Cool. Everything is going to be linked. All right, you guys, you made it to the end of the episode. Thank you so much for listening and tapping into the very first episode with our first special guest. I am so curious if you guys enjoyed having a guest on the show, what you learned from this episode, and what you thought of the longer episode. If you have any feedback, positive or negative, please shoot me a DM on Instagram. I would love to chat about it, and I will never take anything personal. I'm so happy that you are committed to the show and, more importantly, committed to yourself. So thank you for listening. As always, if you learned something from this episode, please share it with a friend or post it to your Instagram story and tag me. And be sure to check out the episode notes on how to find Jamie and for any additional info I might have for you guys in there. Thank you for listening and have such a great day.